2.4, I'd feel better about it.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's wanting to switch back to 2.4. So I'm gonna pull my phone up. Well, that was the wrong video. Watching last week's. Oh, let me see if I can find this week's.
All right. Looks like we're live. Hey, Jack. Hey,
Yeah,
Mark.
yeah, I started it, but I was gonna try to watch it on my phone. We go to Facebook. See if I'm blurry. Am I still blurry on your end? Because if it is, it's gonna require some Cat 5.
Well, you know, not everybody needs to see you in all HD glory.
Well, what I can do is start doing them in the house where I got 500 megs easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's showing it to be blurry. Oh, but it keeps my computer keeps switching to 2.4 gigahertz instead of the 5 gig. So I don't know. I hate it, but I can't pick all this up and take it in the house right now.
Well, we'll
So
get you
we're just
sorted
gonna go
out.
with it. Yeah, I can remove the other camera, but I don't think that's gonna help. Maybe it will. Who knows? All right. Let me get the comments up. We're not seeing. I'm not seeing chat. That's why.
You're not seeing chat? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got to
Well,
turn the
we've
overlay
got a
on.
number of people in there. Oh, yeah, we didn't put it on the video yet.
Yeah. Hello, Mark, Brian, Jack, Mark again. I don't know if it's the same Mark or not. Need to run some Ethernet. Yeah, I changed out the wireless access point that I've got out here in the shop, but it's still not getting it. So, sometime this week I will be, I guess, digging a trench. Anybody want to come dig a ditch? It's a long way to the house.
I
I'm gonna
did that
figure
for
out. I
my
got to.
shop years ago.
Well, I tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get my box blade. I'm gonna hook it to the tractor, and I'm gonna take and drop one of those root tines down about 6 or 8 inches deep, and I'm just gonna drag a crack all the way across, and hope there's no phone
Yeah,
lines or
you
anything there.
can get by with that up down there. I had to get it down about 16 inches, so, and that was with a 4-inch trench spade shovel, and my dad helped
Yeah,
me. So
Brian. Yeah, Brian. 2.4 has greater range, but it also has shorter bandwidth, less bandwidth. And even though I think I've got plenty of bandwidth, I think the problem I'm having is latency because I'm going through so many access points. I think that's what's causing my problem. So, but I've got a gig of internet. Yeah, I've got all. Trust me, I've got TP-Link mesh network set up, and it works great for other stuff. Not so much for streaming apparently. But I will have me a run of Cat 5 put in. I'll be doing that sometime this week, I guess. I'm just going to do away with wireless. I'll change the mesh router out here into an individual WAP. Have my own network here. Uh, Thomas, good evening from Hillsboro. That's not too far away. Dottie
so
says she ain't wearing her glasses, so it don't matter. I'm blurry either way. I don't know. If I could get it to stay on 5 gigahertz, it does better, but it just keeps swapping back and forth. Y'all ain't gonna recognize me when I do get it fixed. Next time I'll just do it in the house. I'll just do it in the house next time. All right, so 50 people. So we should have plenty of folks in here, but nobody's asking anything yet, Steve. We have done our job too well. Wait a minute.
well, Penny just dropped
Did
one
you?
in there.
Somebody asked me if I figured out the doormat. I sure hope so. Hang on, let me go get that guy. Well, it's so darn blurry. You can just look at the picture of it, guys. I'm a little disappointed right now because I worked Really hard trying to get this network to stay on 5G, and it won't.
Well, now
Let's
I'm
see
trying
what
to.
we got.
Penny's asking if anyone's engraved and cut chipboard, and this is the remnants of it. This is about 16th inch chipboard. If that's what you're talking about, it's kind of a backer board for photos and such. I actually did a video on this for making custom gift tags and such, and it does work. It's a You get a little bit of extra charring on the edge that just wipes off with like a paper towel. I'd have to go back and look at my feeds and speeds for that. But yes, it is possible, and I believe this is with a 10 watt, so definitely with the 8s or 20, it should also do just fine. But you know, maybe check that out. Check out my video for some of the settings if I can't find them here in the next little bit.
Roger. Yeah, Brian, I've got it set up as a mesh network right now, and I like that, but I may end up having to switch it so that it'll quit putting me on 2.4. I just like having it to where I only have one SSID for the whole property. But yeah, yeah, Blondie. Yeah, I will be putting some cat down. I may not use cat 6. I may stick with 5E, but it's cheaper, and I can get the same speeds out of it. But yeah. Talks about enclosures. Yeah, nothing wrong being proud of you. Right, yeah, the enclosure, guys. It's a beast, I will say.
Now, here's a question for you. You used a lot of 3/4 inch material on that, right?
Oh yeah, the whole thing's 3/4. It's a
Do
little
you
more
think that's?
expensive. It's a little
I was
more
gonna say,
expensive, but it works better.
do you think since it's primarily stationary that like half inch would have worked for that in most of it?
It 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 would have, but then I'd have had to frame it with like some 2x2s or something like that to give me something to screw to make it secure, I believe. But yeah, I mean, you could. I started to do one. I started to build it out of Luan. I started to take and just build a 2x2 frame using 2x2 pine, just cheapest wood on the market, and then basically skin it out with Luan. And the only reason I didn't is because with the lift and the way I mount cables and stuff like that, I like having that 3/4 inch material because it's really hard to mount let's say mount a camera and stuff like that uh, in thinner material because then your screw's going to come all the way through. So you either got to glue it or staple it or whatever. So I just like the 3/4 inch material, and to be honest, I would probably have went with 1/2 inch, but the little hardware store here in town, they don't carry the 1/2 inch double sanded like that, and all they carry is 3/4. So it was either pay a little more for the sheet or drive 35 miles to get 1/2 inch. So I just paid a little more for the sheet, and I wasn't planning on moving it, so weight really wasn't an issue. I will say this: the 3/4, as far as noise and vibration, the 3/4 does a lot better as far as I can turn the laser on and have it air assist on, and you can't really hear it outside the machine, outside of the enclosure. So I do like that side benefit, I guess you could say.
Sure.
But yeah, this is 3/4 inch ply, Blondie. It's basically a cabinet. Was what the cabinet makers around here use to do a lot of cabinets and stuff. It's really thick, really multi-layered. Hang on, I'll get you a piece of it. I'll show you. Really thick, multi-layered material. It's sanded and it has a stainable finish on both sides. So, but it's 3/4 of an inch thick. Quit looking at me. But it's got a lot of layers. So, but yeah.
So
Well, guys.
I got a question up there
Yeah.
from Eric. Just watching your welcome mat video, is wondering if you can go into more detail on how you kept the middle of the letters from falling out.
Yes. Let me get Lightburn up and I can demonstrate that. Because that's the only way. I mean, I tried to describe it, but I understand it's a little hard to follow. Well, come here. Give me just a second. Let me Let me get my screen over here where I can get Lightburn running. Because it won't let me share it until it's running. All right, I'll let
Jay
you work.
says,
I'll let you work whatever on the other end. I'm just going to
sure. I'm going to
get in
hide chat just for
here.
a little bit so we can see this maybe a little bit better. There we
Okay,
go.
the two problem letters are going to be like the A and the O. And what happens is when you convert these over cuts, when you cut this, those little pieces are going to fall out right there. So the way that I approach that to keep from having that happen is I made me like a little stick basically, uh, and then just take it down and try to find a place where it kind of blends a little bit and place it between those two. You got to have this piece. Hang on, let me ungroup the letters. Well, let me let me let me back this up. Let's do one letter at a time. But you got to have these two pieces have to be grouped on the letter. So what you're going to want to do is I just took this little guy here and move it over in there to where it was kind of an inconspicuous location. And then when you select both of those and you can use the Boolean to subtract, it just leaves a little tab right there. So same thing if it was an O, and if you look at my little template, and you do the same thing. I just made a little square, just enough just to give it a tab. Take that guy, and I put it down at the bottom so that it wouldn't be as noticeable, like right here. And then if you select this guy here, then you select that one, and then you just use this little subtract button right here, and it makes it like that. So that's how I did that to keep from. And you got to do it on the letters that have the little dropout piece. All right, you can put us back like. But let me find my little template here, and I'll show you. So what that translates to, if you look, you'll see right there. There's where that little. Like I said, the smaller you can get away with, the better. See that little? There's a little tiny piece of material right there. And then in the O, I did the same thing. You can see it right there. Now, it didn't really show on the rug because I made them really thin. So you have to look really carefully. I had to bring it back in because everybody was giving me a hard time because they didn't put B's on there. So I did add a B, okay? So the B's are on there now. But you have to look really carefully, and you can barely see where that little tab was. There's just like a little tiny spot right there where it didn't get painted. And then there's one on this O up here. But you really can't see them in the finished product, so I was happy about that. But yeah, there it is. But that's how I accomplished that because I didn't want to use the stencil, military ammo can type font. But you only got to do it on the fonts that the fonts that require the little piece to keep from falling out. I was trying to read comments. But anyway, that's that. Okay,
How about this one?
No.
So, no to the 3/4 inch solid pine.
I mean, you can do it, but I wouldn't make a habit of it. Oh, it's going to take a while. It can be done. The edges are going to be a little jagged. So if you're planning on cutting the inside where you can't get to it with sandpaper, But I mean, you can do it. I've done it, but it doesn't do the best job. The last, I'd say, third of the cut is going to be a little jagged because of, like we've discussed before, you're so out of focus, you start getting more burning than you do actually obliterating the material, and so the cut gets a little rough. So
Yeah, there's various materials that you can go thicker on, but my recommendation is anything over half inch, it's not going to be reasonable from a time frame or a consistency standpoint. I mean, you run into any glue pocket, sap, knot, imperfection in there, and you're probably going to have a really tough spot that it's not going to go through. And like Clack said, you're going to have a pretty rough cut on the bottom side if it gets through all the way. So I would use it for marking and maybe use a scroll saw or a jigsaw or something like that if you've got that to really cut it out and then sand it out.
Yeah. Blonde. I think I'm not sure what she's talking about. But yeah, USB is not an option. The shack here where I live, my shop is about it's close to 100 yards, probably not quite 100 yards to where my uh, gateway is. So yeah, not an option. It's going to have to be cat. I am less than that 300 foot threshold where I got to start using step ups, but definitely going to need Cat 5.
Yeah,
USB is
that's a guideline, not a rule.
well, yeah, but I still don't. It's less than 200 feet, so I feel strongly that I
Yeah,
won't need any step ups or anything.
yeah. Let's see. Joseph is asking about your camera setup in the EnclosureZilla. Looking for a camera that'll cover anything.
It's in the video uh, as far as the link to it. I can look for it, but you know how my computer gets. I guess I'm blurry already, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm using the. Hang on, I'll let me switch to my handy. Where'd my other camera go? Hang on, let me add my other camera, and I'll let you work it. Ah, I took the other camera off a while ago because I thought it might have been causing a problem. But I'll show you what I got. And there's a link in the video. I'll let you deal with that. But there's a link in the video where I built the machine. But this is the camera here. It's a little fisheye camera. And I made me a little mount out of some acrylic that I cut on the Mon port. And basically, I just put it right over the top of the work area. But it's a fisheye lens uh, camera, and the view, get you over here where we can see. Hang on, the machine's off. Let me power this guy up. It's gonna get a little noisy. Where I get it to let me update my overlay here. All right, let me just restart my But that's what I'm getting out of it. I'm getting the whole bed. Now it's not 100% accurate, which, like I said, most cameras aren't going to be. But as far as the center of the workspace, it is very, very, very close. And you can see that. Like if I draw, I'm just going to draw a little circle on the corner of this material here. All right, nobody look. Don't look in the laser box. I'm drawing a little circle there. See, that's about how much it's off. So, I mean, it's really close. And if I went back and readjusted it, maybe it'd be back to normal. But that's really close for such a big work area, in my opinion. But anyway, you can swap my camera around now. Whew. Oh, I mean, you try and do the same thing at the same time.
All right.
But
Mark's asking about a phone case. Feels like plastic, but looks more like wood. Do you think a diode would engrave it? I'm going to say it probably would. I'm not going to say whether you should or not.
yeah,
Not knowing what kind of plastic it is, it could be putting off fumes that you don't want to mess with. that could either cause a hazard or put off some hazardous fumes. So you'd want to know more what it is. There's some flame tests you could do to it, but then you'd be burning part of it. But yeah, if I don't know what it is, I'm pretty leery to engrave it. But I'm pretty sure it
Yeah.
would if it's a fairly opaque color.
Yes, and he will let you know you're going to kill yourself if you engrave something that you might not should. Um, okay,
All
let me
right,
read this one.
Forrest is saying he's new to Lightburn. He's got a D110 watt. He has no problems in XCS, but in Lightburn his access is reversed. Watch video after video, can't get it any help. First thing I would check is the origin.
Yeah.
Now, if you set up your there's a Lightburn config tool you can download from Xtool that should have all the settings for your laser. Now, they're separate for the Pro versus the non-Pro. But if you use that, it should have everything set up right that you could just select that device, get it on the right COM port. But in there, if the origin is wrong, so the X tools, they like to go in the upper left versus a lot of them go in the lower left. That will cause some access messing with it. Otherwise, you can also, if it's just your drawings that are reversed, you can also just reverse those using the toolbar at top. So yeah, that's where he's showing the origin setting. You want to make sure that that matches where the laser itself thinks home is. And so for the X tools, it's always the upper left. Um, Whereas a lot of the other diodes, you're going to see it in the lower left. So that would be the first thing I check. And then if it's just your artwork that's reversed, then you can use the mirroring tool to flip it over.
But yeah, the setting you're looking for is right here. With any of the X tools, whether it's a Pro or a non-Pro, make sure your origin is top left corner. And it's like Steve said, the Acer, Atom Stack, a lot of the other garble machines is going to be bottom left. So that's more than likely that's what your problem is going to be. Is you need to take that, you need to make sure you select that top left corner for origin. But anyway, let me get back my. There we go. Back to my screen here.
Eric had a comment about filling in the little gap on your thing with a black Sharpie. That might work. I've also seen there's I forget what brand it is, but they make like stain coloring pens, and so they have different colors that you can use. That would also work just to
Yeah,
cover in those spots that are left by the gap. But yeah, sometimes
yeah,
it's
they're
just a little touch-up work to do that.
yeah they're small enough that it's really not noticeable. If you go in from below and above it and spray, you almost completely wipe out that little. And I could have probably made my little tags smaller, but I just want sure that the center of the letters didn't fall out. And people asked me too if I could have done it on cardboard. And yes, you could pretty much do it on any medium you wanted. I wanted it on the wood one because I just don't like fooling with cardboard, and it's a little flimsy, and I wanted to make sure it stayed as flat as possible. Fiber laser.
Hey, on the bright side, your audio is great.
Well, like I said, you know I like my stuff to work right, and this is irritating me. And if it's, hey, you know what's really going to make me angry though, is if I run a Cat 5 cable out here and go through all that trouble, and that's not the issue. But I may try to do next Sunday night. I may try to just stay in the house, see if it does. If it does great in there, then I know it's network related. I don't think it's the laptop. The laptop, I'm sitting here. I got my resources visible. Everything looks good. It's got to be either a latency issue because it's going through two repeaters to get here, or just this computer won't stay off of 2.4. I don't know yet. We'll see. I'll figure it out. I promise you, I'll get it fixed. And y'all gonna be like, "Who is that guy?"
All right. Mark's working on a photo engraving. He's using Stucky image mode at 323 lines per inch and 3600/40 speed power, having issues with the laser head stuttering. I'm going to go ahead and guess you're using 3600 millimeters a minute and not millimeters per second. If
I
it's the
hope so.
latter, that would be part of your problem. Um, he also, I think, followed up with that saying, I'm using the move settings window to slow the speed until it smooths out and then speed it back up and it runs smoothly for a while and it does it again randomly. Possibly. Do you have your white space scanning setting turned on to where it will, if you turn on white space move, that'll try to jump up to the highest speed the laser can move to move across areas it doesn't need to burn, and that can cause some jitteriness if speed settings are off. That'd be one thing to try. Um, if it's only doing it in image mode, I guess does it do anything similar in a simple vector straight engrave at the same speed? Um, because that speed at millimeters a minute is not that fast. It shouldn't have a lot of issues there unless there's some sort of mechanical thing happening with it. But I would, first thing I would probably check is the white space scanning. You got any ideas?
Yes, I have had the same problem. I tried using grayscale one time, and even on other machines, it's not machine specific, but it almost sounds like a belt slipping or something when it's moving across there. I went back to Jarvis, and I've been with Jarvis ever since because it doesn't have those issues. But I'm like you. I think it's because it speeds and slows so rapidly that it makes that vibrating noise. But
Yeah,
try Jarvis, and I'd be willing to bet if you go to do it in Jarvis, it won't do that.
so yeah, I mean, I know grayscale. There's been issues with it in the past. This is the test I usually run in the four that I will choose from. So the Atkinson, Newsprint, Dither, and Jarvis. Um, so maybe try switching your mode. Otherwise, like I say, maybe just double check to see if it's a white space scan kind of issue. You could turn that option on or off. Um, but yeah, it's definitely not a grayscale. I would stay away from for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that's what it's going to be. Like I said, it drove me nuts because I thought my machine was tore up, and I went back and engraved a regular graphic. Did fine. It only did it on grayscale, and so that's why I quit using grayscale. It was easier.
All right. Um, what's your opinion of stainless steel plates with diamond cutouts in place of honeycomb, pro and or con? You have an opinion?
It's better than nothing. The less, in my opinion, the less surface area in the material, so that it doesn't cause flashbacks, the better. Uh, I've almost been tempted. I know y'all see these on the plasma cutters, how they have the little teeth that come up to a point. If I could find one of those, I believe I would try one of those. I have good luck with a honeycomb, but occasionally you will get some charring on the back from the
Mhm.
reflectivity of the honeycomb back onto the back of the material. But too much material contact on the back, too much reflection of the lasers, not desired as far as I'm concerned. What's your
Yeah, that's one of the big things is you want to minimize the contact area with the material. The other thing that would be of concern is if you can keep it flat. So, a stainless steel plate with the diamond cutouts, you need to make sure it's supported enough throughout it so that it stays flat. Otherwise, you get a lot of sag. Whereas the honeycombs, through their nature, tend to be a bit more uh, stable. They can still have some sag that I think you've seen in a couple of our videos each, but they do really minimize that contact area. But that being said, it's you know what whatever you can afford to create that effect. So a cookie cooling sheet, those baking racks, those do a great job as well. So um, it'll still work. But yeah, if the diamond shapes are too wide, you're going to get some flashback and you might get some sag. So
I put that up there for you, Steve.
yeah, I see. That's nice.
Oh, oh me. You got a little bromance going on there. I tell you, it's like every week Brian just starts that. Brian's like, let me compliment Steve tonight. Oh me. Let's see. Oh man, the comments just went flying. I missed it.
So John is asking for advice for engraving brass with a 20-watt diode. Brass does not like to get engraved. It does not even necessarily like to get marked. Your best bet is to have something like Surmark or Brilliance marking spray, and have that pretty hot. But it doesn't work well without a fair amount of power. That's just one of the fallbacks. I mean, even on a CO2, you can't touch it. It'll engrave with the marking spray, but you're not going to touch it without a lot of high power. So
Yeah, Jeff. Yeah, I'm just fuzzy all over, and I don't mean like fuzzy. I mean, yeah, I'm having some bandwidth network something issues. We're gonna get it worked out though. I promise. Oh, wait a minute. I think we just canceled each other out. What'd you throw up there?
yeah,
Hit
here.
again.
I put this one up there. Any tips for exporting from Illustrator to Lightburn? I tried different versions of AI files, but the files still don't look right in Lightburn. Um,
PNG.
my my own thing, if you want to keep them vector, I try to make sure that before I export, that everything has been turned into a path, um, and so I'll eliminate any fonts and things like that. Yeah, if you have solids in there, that can mess it up as well. So I try to make sure that it's just the outline and such. Otherwise, yeah, you could try exporting it from Illustrator as a DXF, um, or an SVG rather than an AI file, and that might have better luck importing into Lightburn.
Yeah, DXF seemed to come in Lightburn pretty well. I don't have Illustrator, so I couldn't tell you about that particular part of it. But I do know that DXF files work better. If I do download something off of Etsy, DXF's kind of the way to go.
Yeah, I do use Illustrator for a lot of stuff, but yeah, I do tend to go through everything and make sure it is um, converted to a path instead of Adobe's native vectoring within Illustrator, and that tends to help. But a lot of times I'll just export them as a non-AI file, so as like a DXF or an SVG.
Didn't you get this little guy right here, or did you ever get one of them?
No, I
The
didn't get the IR
IR.
module.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
I
can
didn't
do
know if you
that.
got one or not.
It can do that with an IR, so that'd be similar to like a fiber laser and such. It is a little slow, and it's not going to go very deep, and it'll take a while. But with your standard diode module, you're pretty much stuck to the marking sprays and such. So,
All right, computer nerd, I'll let you handle this one.
best computer to use, PC or Mac. Oh well, my staff would tell you I am not a Mac fan, but that is in a corporate enterprise environment that is mostly Microsoft based with applications that want to run on a PC and not a Mac. As a personal home user, there's nothing wrong with Macs. They tend to be more stable because Apple can kind of controls everything from the hardware to the operating system and such. But you do sometimes run into compatibility issues with some equipment as far as driver support and such. Um, as a general consumer type person, I would say if you're comfortable with Mac, great. If you like playing with toys like these, I think you're asking for a little bit of hiccups more than you will with a PC as far as compatibility with some of these random drivers and random programs. There's not always Lightburn works in both. That's great, but you get into some of the CNC world, and some of the software is you got to run parallels, or you got to run, a virtual box to get them to run. So
I agree. Like I said, I've got a MacBook Pro. It works fine, but just like with Steve's, not necessarily Lightburn, but some of the other drivers and stuff like that are just a little more finicky. It seems in the MacBook. So I run Windows. I've got my old gaming PC over there that I run my machines with, and then I've got this one that I use for my video editing and stuff. But I also have Lightburn, and I design on this machine as well. So personally, I have Macs and I have Windows, and I like Windows for lasers and such. That's personal preference, though. Um, Somebody's got a question here.
I was just going to bring that one up for you.
Well, I use Comgro's. They call it a purifier. I think the word purification is a little bit of a reach. Uh, I would call it more of a reducer. I mean, it's not going to purify the air, but it will reduce the smell. It does get most of the large particulates out, from what I can tell. So it helps a lot. But typically, the events that we're going to be doing, I'm outside. If it's an indoor event, I try to get outside. Uh, I haven't done any indoors that they didn't let me set up outside. So, but it does help. It's the Calm Grow. I think Steve, you got the Calm Grow one too, don't you? The
I've
smoke
got the
unit.
Comgrow one, and I've got that's kind of buried. I've got the Monport that's a little bit larger, and I would agree both are advanced filters. They are not purifiers by any means. You are still going to have a bit of smoke smell to it. It generally takes a lot of the haze and the particulate out, but it does not get all the small stuff. And if you can smell it, it's still not good for you. So yeah,
Yeah.
I if you're not spending a lot of money uh, on both the filter unit and the filters, it, you're, you're you're only taking the edge off, taking it down a bit. So
Uh, there's some mixed feelings about Macs versus PC. That's
it's
a very
it's
slippery
it's a touchy
topic.
subject. Yeah, no, I it 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 really kind of depends on your environment, what you're working on, and what some people will tell you as far as there's a lot of people we have at the community college I work at. We do have a graphic arts program, and of course they have a group of local businesses as their advisory committee, and they'll all say, "Oh, you got to teach the students on Mac because that's what they're going to use in industry." And a lot of that's true, but a lot of it is starting to fall aside where it runs well on PCs as well as Macs. You can get the color calibration on both units and such. Um, Even the price, it used to be you paid a lot more for Macs. Buying them, it they're getting closer. You do pay a premium for Mac and such, but it really comes down to,
Well,
I think the PCs, Windows-based PCs tend to have a little more compatibility with more kind of the off the wall stuff. If you're
well,
doing mainstream stuff, you're probably going to find it for both.
here's a question for you, Steve. Is it that PCs are more affordable, or is it that companies like HP and Dell and some of these other companies just build sub Mac machines that are less affordable? They don't, because I know if you buy a $300 laptop from Walmart, it's not going to compete with a MacBook. But if you step it up into the price range of a MacBook on a Windows machine, you're paying for that added hardware. You're paying for the better RAM. You're paying
Well,
for a graphics card, stuff like that. So,
yeah, like I said earlier, Mac controls everything. Apple
yeah,
controls everything with their environment. They don't allow people to build non-Apple computers that run Mac OS. They control the hardware, they control the operating system, so it's a very controlled environment. And yeah, while they have their value line, their Mac Airs and such, they don't let any really cheap low end computers out there that run their stuff, unless
yeah.
really gone into the Hackintosh area of things. So that is part of it, but um, if you just look at the main brands, your Dells, your HPs, and such for Windows-based computers versus Macintosh, for equivalent computing power, they're not that far off. Because yes, you can get low-end computers from very sketchy places that skew
Yeah.
those numbers and such. So
Well, somebody was asking about PC versus a laptop, and in my opinion, unless you're like really needing a lot of room hardware or RAID or something like that, I mean, laptops have all the. You can get a laptop with the same functionality of a desktop. And a lot of businesses, and I know in what I do, a lot of businesses are now going to dockable laptops so that your workstation can be taken home with you, especially since the epidemic and everything. They've more emphasis on being able to take your office home and not leave things at work. So What do you think on
Yeah.
that, Steve? What's your take?
Uh, whole 100%. Yeah, we have a standard PC, standard computer options for people, and we've moved to strictly laptops. And as a matter of fact, if someone says they need a desktop, we actually make them tell us why, uh, for those very reasons. There's very few cases. I mean, even in gaming, you can get a decent laptop that can run quite well. Um, that's gonna stand up. I mean, there's always more cooling, there's more room, and you can squeeze a little more power out of a desktop. But for the average user at home, a laptop is really the way to go. It just gives you some flexibility. So
Yeah,
anyway,
I agree.
back to laser stuff.
Hey, well, technically, computers are laser stuff because, yeah, I mean, if you're going to do laser engraving, you subpar computer that you can't design on or that you can't, build
Mhm.
with. Because there are some softwares like Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, and stuff like that. There are some softwares that have minimum requirements. And if you fail to reach that minimum requirement, you're going to be upset when you start trying to do your designing.
Yep. Yep. Well, and my friend Mark recently got a Trotec laser, and he is a huge Mac guy, and he was very bummed to find out he had to get a Windows-based PC to run it because they have their own proprietary software to run it, and they do not have a
Mm,
Macintosh version. So,
yep. Uh,
Eric, I did see that, and I saw that little teaser about some CNC stuff in there. So Lightburn is going to be putting on, I think it's a 2 or 3 day kind of seminar expo thing, and it's in Central Illinois, if I remember right. Um, and I think it was maybe it's only 2 day, but it was like $125 for the event, which includes 1 year of Lightburn included with it. So if you're like me and you've paid for the bigger version, um, that's actually a pretty good deal. But yeah, I think in that little video teaser they showed some CNC content on it, so I was kind of curious about that myself. And I don't know, I got to look at the dates of that, and because it's not that far from me, I think it's only about maybe 7 hour drive or so. I may I may check it out if I got the time.
yeah, I don't want to post this, tag this comment, but YouTube might get me. But Brian, no, it's straight out of the shack on my portable. It comes the box is mounted. There's a video if you're going to go back and just do search my video content for portable, and you'll see the mobile shack there. But it just vents beside the enclosure, not off the side of the smoke heater. Uh,
There's one that I think you've played around with this on yours, haven't you? I know I have with my CO2, but I
yeah,
haven't played with the diode yet.
yeah. It with a 10 watt, it's going to take a minute. And yes, that coating that they put on those things is baked on there. It's pretty good. I actually had to run 2 passes with the 10 watt. I haven't done one since I got 20, so I don't know what to tell you as far as with a 20. But that stuff is stubborn. You may want to, like I said, you may want to go ahead and just set it for 2 passes. And Steve would like to point out to you too that don't be breathing the smoke.
Thought I had one in here done, but I don't.
I've got
But
one,
yeah,
but I think it's up at my mill. I got one that I screwed up on, and I had to use it as I did a test grid on it, and I used it as a toolbox up at the sawmill. I just painted it
just
back
repaint
green.
it. Just repaint it.
That's
Yeah.
what I did. Oh, wait a minute. There's a question for you, Steve.
High pressure 36 watt. The 36 atom stack diode, the focus adjust is not. So I've got the 20 watt atom stack, and mine's got the big knob up front and has a metal plate for adjusting it. I don't know. I haven't looked at the 36 watt atom stack yet in detail. I think it's the same. Um, I haven't seen a precision Z adjustment. Now that's something I would love to see more of is, give us a knob up top that raises and lowers the for fine adjustment. Give us like half an inch or so of an adjustment that way to fine tune the focus and lock it in. But I know there are a number of aftermarket ones out there for, um, for like the X tool and such. So I'm sure it would be possible, but I'd have to go back and look at the mounting feature. That's where having 3D printer and a little bit of design skill would definitely help.
Well, while we're making our wish list, I want a knob at the bottom to where I can adjust my focal point that way. That would be nice. That way I could make it a longer focus or a shorter focus. That'd be nice too. Try using it later. Here's one. Oh, I think we canceled each other.
No, I didn't click on anything.
There you go. Now I'm gonna let you have that because that's CO2, and I'm very limited experience with CO2s.
Um, so yeah, they teased a bit in their video. That's up there. You're talking $4,000 for a 55-watt CO2. That's a fair chunk of change compared to what else you can get, but it's not outrageous. Um, but I think their cut area is about 24 inches wide on that one. So again, not the largest, but they did tease a couple features on there with the pass through, which will be interesting to see. Um, and they had like the dual cameras. So um, definitely, I'm definitely curious about it. I'd like to see it. You got to remember, a lot of these desktop CO2 lasers are, well, I would compare them to buying a Mac computer. You're going for design. You're going for all packages together. Um, Hopefully, whatever software they bundle with it, and whatnot, works fairly simple. So you're paying for a lot of those features in a lot of these desktop ones. Now, do they work well? Do they do what they state? In some cases, I worry that they oversell them as, hey, set this on your kitchen counter and laser away, where there's no way that thing with any sort of internal filtering or even, I'm curious about its cooling, is going to work well. But we'll see. Xtool does, they do a good job with their packaging. They do a good job with their information, and they do make decent diode machines. But you pay for it, and you can get similar for less in any of their markets. So I guess that's kind of my thought on it. We'll hopefully know more here in the next. I think they're launching in about a month, so I guess we'll know more then.
No, Brian, on this one, the discharge actually blows back towards me. But keep in mind, I live in the area of high school bonfires before football games, campfires, a little bit of the smell of smoke. In where I live, you pretty much smell it all the time, especially in the wintertime, because there's still people that heat with wood fireplaces. So, yeah, it's not like it's just bellowing smoke. You can smell it when you get near my booth, but it's not enough to really tell where it's coming from.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, kind of the same thing here. I mean, I got neighbors 2 houses down that they have a wood burning stove for a lot of their heat, and um, everybody has backyard campfires. So, I hear the horror stories of people, their neighbors complain about the smoke, but then I fire up my smoker, and it looks like my backyard's on fire during the ignition. Yet I run my laser, you can't see anything. So unless I'm doing something
yeah,
really really nasty like acrylic, or a painted object like that, and I try to limit that. If I was doing a lot of production of that, I'd probably try to pre-filter it and such. But yeah, if it's just wood, I think you do your best to try to not just blow it in people's face. Especially if you're outside at a show, it's gonna dissipate. Maybe if you can, you could pipe it up above your, so it's gonna dissipate more than right out. But you know
yeah. No,
if you're
the only
just doing
things I
wood.
do at shows, yeah, the only things I do at shows is wood, and I do some anodized aluminum. But the anodized aluminum really doesn't. I mean,
Yeah.
it makes very little smell, and I'm running a filter too. So,
Now, if you do a big
but
long
that's
mirror, that'll put off a little smell too.
yeah, or some freshly painted canvas. Uh, Somebody says they like the autofocus on their TS2. Jeff does.
Yeah, I've seen a few newer lasers coming out with that autofocus, and that would be definitely something nice.
The Schwar has that. I haven't used it lately, but it has it. It has it. You can actually set the Z on it, and it'll like each pass it'll drop down another millimeter. That's pretty neat. I wish more lasers did that.
So, would it be better to build a CO2 laser over buying one? Well, here's the thing: if you build it, um, you're going to know everything about it, and you're going to be able to fix anything that goes wrong with it. You can also customize the working area to your specific needs. So maybe you want something that's squarish or more rectangular. You can definitely do that. Um, Without having any experience in CO2s, you might struggle a bit. So in some cases, it might be good to find one that's inexpensive and then play with it and then use that to retrofit your own frame. But if you're kind of person who likes to tinker, likes to study up and read, you could definitely build one. I know a lot of people who have built their own CNC routers and lasers and such. Um, but kind of depends on your willingness to learn and engineer things on your own.
Yep. Brian's giving you a little
I see that.
like shout out there. See, I have to deal with this a lot. Uh, how about you, Steve? How do you feel about this? I know what you're going to say. Do a test group.
Oof. Well, you did a video similar to this. Um,
Yes.
so it's going to depend on the piece. If it's irreplaceable, I'm I'm and I'm not comfortable with the material, I'm probably going to turn it down or try to offer an alternative of, hey, how about we create an accent piece? And Clack did a video on this, and it's one of your earlier videos about someone I think asked you to engrave on an urn, and you're like, I don't want to be the guy that messes up the
Yeah.
funeral because
Yeah.
we made yeah. Um, so in that case, I would if I'm really uncomfortable with the material, the base material, I'd try to say, well, can we make some sort of accent piece that's going to go with it, whether it's some sort of stand, display, a placard, something like that. Um, if it's a very unique item that it's irreplaceable again, but maybe not event related, I'll tell them like I really don't want to do this, but if you want to come over here and I'll show you what I'm doing, and you want to hit the start button, that's on you. I tend to stay away from things that I can't um, make right if it screws up. So
Yeah, it's a lot easier to just go buy something yourself, especially if it's something that doesn't have sentimental value. And if you mess it up, kind of like this talking out of tonight, guys. This was one of my earliest tumblers. I wrecked the first couple of tries, but I kept using it as a test. Matter of fact, Steve would be proud. Look there, Steve.
test grid.
But I messed up on this tumbler when I first got my X tool, and so after that, I was just like, "Hey, I'm gonna use it as a test cup," and but you know what? They still work, and I finally got it right. If you can see that, but I finally got it right, and it works. But I still drink out of it around the house. I don't take this one out in public. But if I'm gonna run over one with a tractor, might as well be this one. But maybe you could come up with like something that you could add to the wind chime. Like maybe you could go above the wind chime where it would hook to the porch or something, and laser a piece of acrylic or a piece of wood and just like connect it to there, and then go on up. Maybe you could add to the wind chime rather than engraving the actual sentimental wind chime. And that's what I did with, like I said, Steve was saying. I had to kind of get out of the box, and instead of engraving on this urn, because the funeral was like 48 hours away, and so instead of engraving the urn, I made basically like a holder for it. And if something happened, I messed it up, or if the guy didn't like it, they just didn't, they just didn't have to use it. So there's always more than one way to customize something without taking a risk of destroying it. But if you feel confident, like I said, I have done stuff like that, but it'll make your heart skip a beat. Uh, yeah, Mark's saying the same thing. Try to do a test grid on the back, but you don't even want to do that if it's somebody else's sentimental project. Don't try to earn on earns. Hey, the little holder I made for it was actually a quite a hit. They liked it, and I didn't risk destroying it.
See, I just ended up building the one for my mom, so I had myself to screw it up if her not, and I did it before I finished it, so if I needed to, I could sand it down. So
That's right. Always, always. That's a major rule when you're making plaques and stuff. If you think you want it a half inch thick, make it 3/4. That way you can sand it down, start over a couple times.
yeah.
that's hey, that saved me before. That planer over there, you set that thing to 1/32, brand new piece of wood, start over.
So
All right.
for my honeycomb to wasteboard, the important thing that I do there is just make sure that you have airflow. So it can be as little as about an inch, or on my enclosure, I have about 4 inches underneath there. Um, that is more about having flexibility for running a rotary underneath it, but um, as long as you have airflow underneath the spoil board, um, that should be good because you want to worry about any sag and any support. Um, and by the time you lift it up even an inch, it's going to probably going to just sag a little bit, not much more than that. But you don't need a lot, just enough to make sure you're encouraging the air to move underneath there.
I don't know what this goes with. I missed something.
He's wanting a CO2 laser that's 2 foot by 4 foot. He was the one asking about building it. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's definitely you use the aluminum extrusion panels to build that. That's a popular way to build them, and then it's just a matter of getting your gantry set up and your rails and such in there.
All right, Brian took a break from giving you compliments. He's commenting. Happy International Laser Something Day. Is that such a thing?
Sure. Apparently
If it isn't, it
tomorrow's
ought to be.
Oreo cookie day, so
Yeah, if it isn't, it should be, huh? But yeah. It's beginning to look a lot like the lasers back there. Oh, all right, y'all got to start send us some comments and questions. If you let me get distracted, I'm gonna start cracking on Steve.
I tell you one thing that you can do if you really want to drive yourself nuts: cut yourself a puzzle like this.
What the heck? Why? That just looks like it would drive you nuts.
It is. Let me see if I can pull out one of these pieces. I found these years ago when doing stuff with my CO2 laser, and it's kind of a cool effect. But once you get all these pieces mixed up and there's no reference other than wood grain, it's it took me a while to get this back together. So, oh my gosh, there we go. All right, come on, almost. There we go. So there's one piece that's out,
No,
and
no,
they
no,
eventually just
no,
drop back in. If I can do this backwards on here, but yeah, uh,
no.
there you go. Now, if you get your kerf really tight, they'll go almost completely seamless.
Yeah, no. I don't have time for puzzles, Steve. Good night, Eric. Oh, let's see. Somebody else had another question over here. Uh, Somebody made a comment. There he is with that comment about my hair again. Said he can't tell if my hair's messy or not because it's blurry. Maybe that's the reason, Brian. If you got any comments on the 40 watt, they're asking.
Without having one, it's hard to say. My only comment is My expectations of it would not be so much to cut thicker material, but to do things faster. So, you know, it's gonna be throwing more power at the same depth and same area. You're not necessarily going to get through thicker material, but you will cut through the same material faster. You should be able to engrave faster. So if time is what you're after, um, not spending as much of it, then that's something to look at. If you're wanting to, cut a lot of deeper things, I know there's people who keep asking like, oh, can I cut through 3/4 inch thick material? That's really not a good use for lasers, um, at least with any sort of quality cut. So
It's possible. All
well,
right.
there's possible,
Uh,
and then there's is it effective and reasonable? That's the point.
yeah. All right. Going back to my other camera, you can put me in the little box down there. All right. So the question is about the stove covers and whether I stain before or after engraving. And this is the three. Let me set this camera down where I can pick this up. These are the three that I did yesterday. I have no need. I don't see a need in staining before. I stain after, and you can look at the engrave. The engrave is more than adequate, and I just this to me this is the best look. Now, if you really wanted it to be fancy, you could go back with some white paint and a really small paintbrush if you were better at painting than I am, and you could paint that white. But then, in my opinion, you might as well just go get you a Cricut machine, cut it out on a Cricut, and then poly over it. But that's I do them after, just because I don't really want to take a chance on the stain igniting a fire inside my enclosure, because most of your stain is going to be it's going to have a high content of paint thinner. Paint thinner is basically the same thing that you use to start your barbecue grill with. So, not something you want to put fire around, in my opinion. Uh, that is, what's the, hang on, I got it wrote down. 35 and a half inches is the actual honeycomb area. I think it's 37 and a half inches overall. That's the nivel. Me and Steve both have one. It's
Hmm.
37 by 19 and 3/4 maybe. To the outside of the black is 17 and 3/4 inches of actual honeycomb material. Uh,
I was going to measure mine. Mine's out of the way.
yeah, mine's in the enclosure, but it's 17. It fits. I can tell you this because I had to write it down. A piece of 35 and a half inch by 17 and 3/4 inch material will fit on the honeycomb itself. So it's a nivel is the name of it. I think me and Steve both did reviews on it and have links in the description if you want one. Uh, let's see. Brian said life is a puzzle to him. Okay, I'm waiting to find a comment. There it is. Robert says it's 37.4 by 19.68. That's what Robert is saying. So that's Robert right there. Who got the long honeycomb first? I don't remember.
I think you
I think we
did
got them at the
because
same time.
mine got the first one they sent to me just got lost in, I don't remember who was shipping it, UPS or Postal Service or whoever, but it went somewhere and just stopped moving. So then they had to send me new ones. So, but I think we had the invite from the place about the same time, but so you can use the built-in material test for just a simple grid. both for cutting and engraving. But if you want to do other ones, I've used a mixture of them. There's one from Louisiana Hobby Guide that has your flexible cut options. It's got both a raster and a vector engrave. It's got, as a matter of fact, that's where I pull this little image one from. It's on part of his test file as well. So that one, he's got a lot on there, and yeah, it's the universal test card, and it's free. You just have to go sign up for his forums, and then you can download his stuff. He also has a lot of Lightburn library files and such that you can use as well. So I would never pay for one. There's plenty out there that are free, but um, that's the best I would do.
I agree. I usually just use the one in Lightburn.
Mm-hmm.
Eve, do you know of anything for slate? That's
Um, well, if you want it to be food safe, so okay, so food safe.
I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be eating off of it.
Well,
I
I
mean,
mean, I suppose you could serve food off. Here's the thing. Um, there's food safe out of the bottle, and there's food safe after completely cured. Um, if you want a food safe finish, you need to go with like your typical cutting board oil and such. That'll soak in and do similar. Um, what I have tried, I've just started playing with mine is just any sort of like a um, well, what I did on the last one, I wasn't worried about being food safe per se. Was I used this Halcyon Clear, um, but this would not necessarily be food safe. So this is
is
your
that
typical, just kind of a clear. Um,
is
you were
that
going
in
to
the
ask?
IV bag?
No, it's not in an IV bag.
It looks like an IV bag, Steve.
But if you want, yeah, like you want a food safe finish, any sort of this is wood honey, food safe wood finish. But this is a mixture of wax and oil, and this will give you a bit of a clear coat on it. I haven't tried this. I'm going to do it on one soon to see how it comes out. Um, it'll have a similar effect. It might not be as shiny, but it should bring out some of the contrast.
Yeah, I just use the butcher block oil if it's going to be eaten off of. But I'm doing it in acrylic and stuff. Oh, guys, I've got a friend of mine that's making me a tumbler, and Steve's going to be so jealous when I get it. Uh, I can't wait to see it. She does epoxy tumblers, and she hand paints and does like 3D stuff to them. I placed my order the other day. It won't be long. Let's see. Otter's Danger Den. It's also good. Never heard of that one. Have you, Steve?
Not sure I have. I'll have to look that up. So, I so oops, did that. I actually put it on afterwards rather than beforehand.
Yeah, if you put that mineral oil on them beforehand, it lets a weird like smoke, vapor, whatever you call it. Because I've had to redo a couple, and it'll vaporize and it'll make your machine all like nasty. X tool, which X tool? 10 watt, 20. A 10 watt, I run 70 millimeters per second at 100% output. Turn the LPI up to 254, and just do one pass. I haven't done a tumbler on the 20 watt yet. I got an order that I'm going to be doing before too long, but I may wind up doing them on the Hster because with that automatic bed, it's just so much easier to drop a rotary in there because I just lower the bed and stick the rotary in. The 10 watt, 100% power at 70 millimeters per second for black. And the lighter colors, you're going to have to walk the speed down a little bit. Uh, 50 or 60, 50 to 60 for white, blue, green, and purple, because those reflect blue light. The closer to the white or blue you get, uh, you have to walk your power down. Now, Yetis are a little tougher sometimes than, say, your Hassel Outfitters or your Academy Sports. So you may want to do a test if you're planning on doing a bunch of them. The last Yeti I did was a pain. I had to crank the speed way down.
Yeah, I just took a look at Otter Danger's Den. They've got an online script that creates it, and it looks very similar to the output that you get from the built-in tool in Lightburn. So
Cool.
both would be good options.
How do you engrave on flask without warping them? I'm guessing you mean you got it too hot and it caused the metal to buck. Is that what you're referring to there? Because I did that once. I thought I'd cut a hole in it with a 20 watt. This little
Fill it with water.
flask. The flasks you get online. No, you just got to dial the speeds down. I finally on the speed, but you got to go faster. If you're going to run it at 100% output, you just got to go faster. Uh, if stainless is starting to dimple or sink in a little bit, you're going too slow. Speed it up, and then go find the right. But like Steve would tell you, it's all best to do a test grid. There you go, Steve. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. The Dollar Tree stuff engraves nice. Like you can go really fast without a whole lot of power. And that stuff
Yeah, but
comes
how
right
about the
off.
$5 tree stuff?
$5 tree. Oh, that is a $5 tree. Huh. I've never had a $5 tree store. We have a Dollar Tree store.
Isn't it like the $1.25 tree store now?
I think they still call it the dollar store, but nothing in it's a dollar
I know.
anymore.
Yeah. No, I've picked up some things there. I actually need to I need to grab some things again. So
Oh, WWSS, he said.
yeah, well, he also said that your instructions are very clear. Wish your video was as clear.
Oh, Brian, dude. Okay, next week I'm gonna be in the house, so when y'all ask about laser stuff, I'm not gonna be able to show it to you. But I gotta get this. I gotta get this resolved. I'm just hoping it's not my laptop because I just spent like a pretty good little check on this laptop. I don't think it's it though. You said your laptop spec'd slightly lower than this one, right? Except for
Lower
your
or higher?
Intel. Is yours an Intel or what processor you
Yeah,
run?
mine's probably a little bit higher than yours. Mine's an Intel i7, I believe, on mine. Of course, I'm not even running on that. I'm running that on my old desktop, so I don't think it's your
Huh.
computer.
I don't think it is either. Because I have got right here. I've got an AMD Ryzen 7, 6800 hertz with 8 cores, 16 logicals. I've got, let's see, 32 gigs of RAM. Plus, I've got a NVIDIA video card. So, I mean, this thing should not be having any problems. I think it's going to be network related. I may even fire up a live from inside the house when I get through here, just to see if it fixed the problem. That's a good idea. I could just load everything up, take it in the house, and just do a little quick live in there. Make fun of my wife, kids, or something.
Then you'll be kicked out right back to where you're at now.
Nah, we've got an agreement. She's not going to kick me out. It's not until after the spring honeydew list, anyway. No, Jack, I've done a few from inside, and I didn't have that problem. I don't think it's if it is the computer, I'll remedy that, but I sure hope it isn't because, like I said, this thing wasn't cheap. What's going to be really bad is when I get this network problem fixed. I'm going to find out that the laptop I had worked fine. Yeah, Tim, already got that. That's not working. My house, y'all got to realize now, I'm not This is this where I live, where my house is. Hang on, let me pull this up. It's not. I'm in a subdivision or anything where I'm in an attached garage. Uh, it's a pretty good ways. The house is actually away from where I am currently. Let me go to satellite view. All right, all right, all right. Let me go to screen share now. Yeah, y'all making me defend myself here. All right, let's go. All right, here we go. There we go. All right, so this is my house from space. All right, see, not city. All right, this is the house. My access point is about right there. There's the shack, and my access point here is right there. So that's a pretty good little stretch. I said the house is like 50 something foot wide. That's good, probably close to 90 feet or so right there. So that's the problem that I'm having. I'm going to bury a Cat 5 cable from right here over to here, and I'm going to fix the problem. So there's that. That's going to fix it. It's either going to fix it or something. No, Robert, I've actually got a gig of internet, fiber optic. I've only got like a 2 millisecond ping to it, so that's not the problem. Well, Jim, I'm telling you, bro, I really do love you, but when you're penetrating as many walls and everything as I am, I've got good signal out here. My access point, which is on the wall over there, is showing really good signal. Over there, see it right above the door, that little white box, showing plenty of signal, but it still ain't working. Still blurry. So we're going to fix that. I need an external antennas point of sight system, but I just rather bury a cable instead. No, nope. I'm actually not running a laptop camera. I'm running a Sony ZV-1, and it is set to 1080p. And this is my laptop camera, and this is my GoPro. And it doesn't matter which camera I go to, I'm still furry. There you go, Steve. Now they're off me.
Have I tried the laser add-on with VCarve Pro? I have not. I pretty much stick to Lightburn for my laser control stuff since I have it, and leave VCarve for the CNC machine, CNC router, since that's all I use that for. Maybe if I put a module on my Onefinity, but I don't know why I would with the variety of lasers I have, unless I wanted to do something really ridiculously big, but then I could just use tiling and such. But no, Lightburn's purpose built for lasers, VCarve for CNC routers, and that's where I'm curious about Lightburn coming out with CNC control. But anytime you get into that doing something it wasn't initially meant to do, how well does it do it? So
if they make it where I can work one of those with Lightburn, I may have to get one.
I did see someone was selling a decked out Onefinity down in Birmingham. I was like, well, hey, there you go. But they still wanted $5,000 for it, so didn't figure that was in your play around with something budget.
No, if I'm gonna, I don't know. I ain't got room for it right now anyway. Eventually, I'll probably end up getting one, but right now I'm just having too much fun with lasers. And I seriously think that before it's over with, like the diodes are going to get crazy powerful. It's like an arms race with all these companies, and they're gonna keep getting more powerful. Mm. I can actually explain that to you. Okay. I wish I could. I'm not connected to a laser over here, so I really can't show you. Let me move over to there, Steve, and I will show how to set that because I had the same problem. And let me get my camera where you can see, hopefully. All right, so when you go into your machine settings, go to device. This is terrible. I know. I don't have a machine hooked to my other one. Well, you got my rear end on there, Steve.
No, it's just a blurry. I don't know that we can see what you're doing.
Okay. Is that still not working?
Well, I mean, it's your
Is it still not
resolution, the
working?
fuzziness. I mean, we could see it, but I don't think we can read what you're. It's not going to show it very well.
Well, do you have a machine hooked to yours where you can demonstrate it?
Let me see if I can do that here.
Darn. Yeah, I'm gonna get that fixed. I
Uh,
can run a cable over here.
Nope. Too many windows. I'm getting there. Share screen and
I can run a USB extension over here, I guess, but
all right. So let's see here.
did you get it?
Which one do I want to mess with so I don't really actually break something? You want to go into your
Dollar values.
why does this always go weird on me on there? All right. Let's see here. Yeah, oops, I'm in the wrong spot, aren't I? It's in the machine settings, right?
You're gonna have to you get machine settings and then
Yeah, so I need
read.
device setting. Oh, you know what? I only have the extra looked up. Well, it's going to read off there. Let's see here.
Well, it'll still show you. It's
Machine
just gonna be set
settings.
to
You want to read,
yes, and then go down to the bottom at the advanced.
and we go to
Okay, and when you go down, you'll see X axis max travel and Y axis max travel. And when you put the extensions on, you have to change the Y axis max travel to whatever your extension is. And like with the H, it'd be 850. What's the
right.
X tool? Is it 800?
I don't know about the extended one. Yeah, it's around that. So it's basically changing your 130 or your 131 Gerbil setting here or here, and you could even do this through the console if you were really brave. So like Sculpt Fun, you can actually extend both. You'd want to extend your Y and your Z, but this is the setting you need to update as well, and you want to change that value to your millimeters that you're changing it to. So
Yeah, you want to put that as your overall work area. If you don't, what you have to do is you have to home it. It'll move 400, and then you home it again, and it moves another 400 or whatever. But if you change that to the total work area of your machine, then when you hit home, it'll go all the way back to the home location without stopping.
yeah,
I had that
you
problem
change
with
this
the Acer.
number, change that number, hit right, and then it should update that for you.
But I had to do that with the Acer when I extended it because I was having a double home every time. So that is how you do it.
And if you're ever wanting to check your Gerbil settings, there's a nice PDF spreadsheet that has all the various settings in there. Drop that in the chat window so everybody can see it. It's a good reference to understand what those various things are. So
Said Felix said he tried and it wouldn't save. Go over to command window. Go over to command window and type in a $sign and whatever the number is equals. Put whatever it is you're changing it to at the end of it and hit enter and see if it does it that way
yeah, the
on the
console
command
window console window should let you do that.
Yeah. But if it won't let you save, you may want to, restart the machine, reboot your, laser or whatever. But the Acer, it changed and it's working fine now. So, but that's how you do that. All right.
As far as the new Orter rotary chuck, I hope to be able to tell you within a few days. I
Lucky.
should have one showing up this next week. And I'll definitely be testing it out. Well, I'll be testing it out obviously on the Laser Master 3, but yeah, I'll be trying it out with a few other lasers. Probably put it on the X tool and the Acer. Still got the Comgo around, so I'll try to test on a number of them. In theory, yes, as long as you got the right pin out a wiring adapter for them, then it should work fine. And the Comgo and the Acer use standard plugs, as far as I understand and remember. So it shouldn't be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all pretty much the same. It's just about then calibrating to the driver board you got. So
Yeah, I think the Acer and the O'Tour will use the same pin out. The X tool is the only one that has that weird crossover thing that you have to do. And hopefully we'll get to try one more Chuck rotary, if we ever hear back.
mm-hmm.
Here you go. Here's your one.
Whether you go with more powerful diode or go to CO2 at what price point? That everybody's favorite response. It depends. If you're looking for just increasing production of what you're currently doing, you could look at a more powerful diode. But even that, I would say it depends on the price you're looking at, because if you've got the space and the means to run two machines versus one, that offers more flexibility in your production. And it's probably going to do more to double your production over going from, like, say, a 10 to a 20 watt, because you're not going to get double the speed you have out of a 20 watt from a 10. It's a bit of a bell curve. Now, if you're trying to do different things, so you're trying to do a lot with acrylics, if you want to have an easier time working with glass, then that's where definitely a CO2 is going to work. And also, I would say if you're really starting to get into the larger work areas, I think, kind of beyond what Clack's done with his, I think the CO2 option might be a little bit better. If you get into the, like Sculpin has theirs where it's like 900 millimeters square. And my concern on that one is it's such a big area. If you don't have good cable management and you don't have a very stout frame to work with, you got a lot of variables that can kind of mess it up for you. Whereas the CO2 frames tend to be lighter head for more power, because they're it's just a lens and a mirror and a cone rather than the whole module that's having to swing around. So there's a lot of depends there, is what I'm saying. If you're just going for production speed, I would try to double up on the machines I've got first before I go higher power.
Oh yeah, multiple machines is the ticket, in my opinion. Unless, like I said, but you got to figure out what your market is. Where do you make your money, and how best spent is your money if you're going to buy a machine. And I know a lot of people gave me a hard time about, oh, you spent so much on the enclosure and everything. You could have went and bought a CO2, and I'm still nowhere near what a CO2 costs. But I don't really want a big CO2. I like my diodes, and I just needed a bigger work area. So it all depends on what you want. I mean, it's a personal preference. You're just gonna hang on, let me $, whatever the number is, equals new value, and hit enter. I don't remember what number sign it was. Was it 130?
130 and 131 for. Let's see here. It's
it'll be like $.
130 is the X and 131 is the Y.
Equals. Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah,
but
no spaces either. So
But yeah, it's like I said, it just all depends on what you're doing. If I was doing a lot with acrylic, I'd probably go ahead and bite the bullet and get a CO2. Uh, if I was doing, because to me, with wood, and as long as you're within a reasonable thickness, such as this stuff here, the diodes do a pretty good job. Uh, that's just my opinion. Now, nothing against CO2s, but it's just not really. It's just not really what I'm into. Yeah, what Phil Knock said. Yeah, just leave off the question mark. I don't know what a question mark in there would do.
Yeah, just make sure there's no
You're gonna have
spaces
to.
in there, and
Do you,
$sign 131 equals 936 should work fine.
do you have to do the double dollar sign first, Steve, or will it take it that way? I haven't tried it
No, I
without
think
doing double dollar signs first.
no, I think that's just to read your config.
Yeah, but, but yeah, that should work. 936. Is that how long a X tool extended is? Is the X tool extended 936? I didn't think they were that big.
I don't know. I'd have to look it up. Have not done mine yet on any of them. I'm waiting for.
That's
I'm
like a that can't be right. That's, let's see. Let me check because I don't. That sounds like that's way too long. Let me look at the specs. Yeah. It says 930. Oh, that's not the usable area though, is it? Yeah, well, I guess it is. It says 930 by 430. God, yeah, that's long. So yeah, I guess it would be 930. It says 930 on their page. So I would probably put 930. But I just looked at their page and it said 930, so that's what I'm going on. But you may get some rail bumps at 936. All right, well, the questions have slowed down, Steve, and I'm actually wanting to try something on my network here in a minute, see if I can turn off the 5G. I guess I'm just going to have to set this up as a separate SSID, dump the mesh network, and see if that fits, because I'll just have to make sure I can reconnect to each network. But yeah, guys, enjoyed it. I should have for those of you that like seeing me get tortured or stung by honeybees, I should have a video coming out in the morning. I got the bees handled today and only got stung once. Thank you there, Jack. Yes, if you hadn't already, hit the like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
And if you haven't, go ahead and join our listener Facebook group. It's where you can go and chat with everybody throughout the week, ask questions that not only Clack and I can answer, but other people within the group. You can share what you're working on. It's just out there to continue the conversation, as always. And so that's been growing pretty well, and getting more traction with people throwing things out there. So definitely hop on there as well.
Phil Knox says he tried that and the X-Tool controller won't save it. Do you think that's going to be something you got to go in XCS, whatever it's called?
That would be the other thing I would look at is see if that's something you can update through the XCS software, and then that should hopefully fix it for Lightburn as well.
Yeah, because I know you can't disable that flame sensor and stuff in Lightburn, so that they may have it locked down to where only XCS can change the settings on the motherboard or the controller, whichever you want to call it. But yeah, well, I thank you there, and yeah, Brian, I'm probably going to wind up dragging some Cat 5 cable. I mean, that would eliminate any possibility of that being the problem. So I'm probably going to go pick me up a roll of Cat 5 tomorrow. I've got the crimper, I've got all the ends and stuff to make the cables. And then I can just run me a drop all the way into the shack and bring it over. And if nothing else, once I get it out here, then I can go Wi-Fi with it, and that shouldn't be a problem because I've got it set up that way inside. But but yeah, but yeah, WWSS guys. I'm gonna have to build a graphic for that and put it on my Facebook page. What would Steve say? Yeah.
Yeah.
What would Steve say? All right, guys. Well, appreciate you. And like I said, if you haven't already, go check out that Facebook group. And if y'all see me pop back up live here in a few minutes, I am going to go inside to make sure that it's not my computer and throw one up in there in here just a minute, I guess. That way I can sleep tonight because I won't be able to sleep tonight thinking it's this computer. But y'all have a good night and come see us next Sunday, and we'll hang out again and try to get some information out there for you guys. I hope you found it helpful, entertaining, or just came to see Steve, whichever the case may be. Thanks for stopping by.
We'll see everyone.